And what he wants is for her to believe that is the biggest gazelle anybody could ever drag into this cave.
So true.
And you know what? That's virtuous living.
Yeah.
That's virtuous living is what it comes down to. If you want to be a virtuous man, so you want to be a happy man, and you want to be a married man, and you want that to be the person that you lay your eyes on as you take your dying breath, you got 2 jobs, man. Adore her and be admirable.
All right, guys. Ken Coleman sits down with a guest to talk about work-life balance, and this conversation gets real fast. Burnout, career pressure, the lie of having it all get exposed one by one. Breaking it all down on Death Disaster Daily. Subscribe for more financial truth. Let's jump in.
One of the biggest mistakes that we make is talking about work-life balance. And part of the problem with that is that it suggests that your work and your life are different things. The minute that you have a binary between work and life, you're in trouble.
That's right.
Because then when you're trying to be successful, you'll have less life and more work, and then you're going to burn out. Right? It's what it comes down to. Your work is part of your life. If you're doing it right and you're finding your calling, your work is part of your life, and your life is actually part of your work.
Yes.
I mean, your marriage should make your job better, and your job should make your marriage better.
Yes.
If your job and your wife are competing over your soul, you're gonna burn out, man.
Yeah.
You're as sure as you and I are talking here, you're gonna burn out.
Exactly right.
And if you're
I couldn't agree anymore. That is 100% facts. I don't understand this work-life balance mindset. I never really did growing up, really. Like, I want to balance my life. Like, but you work, though. Isn't that part of your life, regardless? Like, that's something I never understood. Even to this day. It's crazy.
like if your spouse is jealous of your time at your job, and the people at your job are kind of mad because you're having to go home to actually spend time with your family, you're doing it wrong, is what it comes down to. And you need to take control of your life. And I realize that some people feel like they don't have control of their life, and it might take some time, but that's it. So the way to think about it is work-life integration. And that means that you need to have parts of your life that are expressed in your work and parts of your life that are not expressed in the way that you earn your daily bread. So one of the things I talk about, I have a whole chapter I have a whole section in the calling chapter on leisure. And this comes from the work of Josef Pieper, the great 20th century German philosopher, who is the world's the greatest expert on leisure. And you think of like, well, you need a philosopher who talks about how to chill on the beach? No, because that's not what he's talking about. Leisure is serious business. Yeah. It's just you're not getting paid for it. You're not getting compensated traditionally for it, but you're becoming a better generative person. You're growing as a human being on the basis of your leisure, which is why he puts it into the categories of deepening spirituality, of deepening relationships, and deepening knowledge. These are the three things. And so what we need to do is to take seriously, the different parts of our life that are not the job per se, but are making us into deeper, better people, such that work and life can integrate and serve each other better.
I love that. Okay, on those three categories, give us some practical suggestions so people can go, all right, I'm gonna ideate off of Arthur's list or do Arthur's list.
Yeah.
Those three categories, something specific you'd recommend.
Yeah, so I recommend actually having goals in each area of life. What do you want to read this year?
Yep.
Where do you want to be in your faith walk this year? Where do you want your marriage to be this year? And so at the beginning of the year, let's put together some New Year's resolutions. Like, how is your marriage going to be better this year? How are you going to be more knowledgeable about something you don't know about that's not lucrative for you this year? And how are you going to be deeper and closer to God this year? How are you going to do it? It's like, make some goals, dude. It's like anything else. Take it. If you have a business-like approach, just like you do with your business.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is 100% factual. I couldn't agree anymore. Really, I wouldn't do the New Year's resolution thing because honestly, I think it's a scam. And the reason why is because people tend to wait until 12 o'clock strikes and then they're like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to be that. And then they never do it. January 2nd comes by and they're doing the same thing over again. So really, you got to put the time and discipline to set your goals. Because making goals, writing goals, and creating goals is really how, in my opinion, really how things should work. For example, how much debt I want to get rid of this year. Well, write it down, put it on a piece of paper, or really you can literally just like that one video from Fresh and Fit. You can literally just hang that goal on the wall somewhere where you could see it before you go to bed and when you wake up?
As opposed to, yeah, I'm kind of hoping that, yeah, I might pray some more this year. I'm not quite sure, and kind of hope I feel more religious this year. I sure hope that the old lady and I kind of hope we get closer and she stops nagging me so much. It's like, that's not a plan.
That's right.
That's just lame, man. That's just like not taking. If you did that with your job, you'd be fired or out of business.
Yeah.
And so take it with the same seriousness, with the same strategic goals that you would on something like that, and the reward will be so great.
I think there's some depth here. Why did he refer to what we're talking about as actual leisure? Because I think that's counterintuitive to the way we use the word leisure.
Yeah.
You're right. He's not by the pool sipping a margarita.
No. That's what he calls acedia.
That's right.
Which is this ancient Greek word that means sort of sloth.
right.
Which is a deadly sin.
Right.
Chilling on the beach, for an afternoon.
So why do you think he defined leisure? What do we need to catch out of that word? I think words matter.
Yeah, well, he went back sort of to the etymology and looked at the original nature of it. But what he was really thinking about was how the great philosophers thought of non-work, about, the dignified way to engage in non-work.
Yes.
And so he went back to, he's going back to the pre-Christian philosophers, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle in particular, and to talk about how they talked about how to become stronger, better, more generative, more loving people.
Yes.
And they rarely said by spending more time in the office.
That's correct.
They were talking about how, you would actually grow. And it's pretty interesting because what you find is that the modern literature completely supports this. I mean, there's a study that you're well aware of called the Harvard Study of Adult Development. That's an 85-year longitudinal study that predicts what you do early in life and how it will lead you to be happy and healthy when you're old.
Yes.
And none of it is work harder. None of it is actually work harder. Right. It's smoking, drinking, diet, and exercise. That stuff is really important. But then it's learning, coping, and loving.
Yes.
And the learning and coping and loving really gets into this. That's what goes into the leisure category. So, but the bottom line is, and I think I titled the section in the book, "Leisure is serious business."
Yeah. Yeah.
Take it serious.
I read a book called The Pursuit of Happiness recently where the author went back and studied the Stoics and their influence on our founding fathers. So when Jefferson pens the phrase, maybe one of the most famous phrases of all time, the pursuit of happiness, you trace it back to virtuous living.
Yeah.
And so the philosophy behind all of that was what the pursuit of happiness actually meant to our forefathers.
It was eudaimonia.
There it is.
Yeah.
And this idea that I want to live better each day, and it's the core of what you just laid out.
Yeah, it's a good life well lived.
It's great. I want to make sure people get that. I think our nation needs a revival of virtuousness. Just like, what does virtue look like? So anyway.
For sure. And again, it gets back to loving and being loved.
That's it.
It's what it means. So it's interesting how, virtue sounds sort of like my original forefather in the United States, which was before the United States, Henry Brooks, comes to Massachusetts, a Puritan in 1630.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, he goes to Concord, Mass, and he's an indentured servant, works off his indenture, and winds up really prosperous, owning 115 acres and a bunch of stores and all this kind of stuff. He marries for the third time at 91. I mean, that old fox, and dies at 92. And that people think of virtue as just like, nose to the grindstone kind of Puritan thing. But that's not it at all. On the contrary, it's sort of this joyfulness that we find. And so, for example, people say, how do I live a virtuous marriage? How do I live a virtuous marriage? And there's all kinds of rules. I mean, there are all kinds of, obviously, don't be an idiot. Don't cheat on your wife, you moron. Right. Don't get drunk all the time. Don't go bankrupt. Don't, don't skip work. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. But really what it comes down to live a virtuous marriage is it goes back to the behavioral and neurological correlates of actually what we want in each other, what God makes us for each other. And the answer is that a virtuous marriage is one in which people are, the partners, it's not that they don't fight, but they're fundamentally at peace with each other because she is adored and he's admired. And this you can imagine how this actually comes from the biology, right? From the evolutionary biology, where, it's like what she wants is to know that he would fight a tiger for her with his hands and only her.
Well, there you go. That was very interesting. Yeah. That's an interesting way to put it. I agree.
And what he wants is for her to believe that is the biggest gazelle anybody could ever drag into this cave.
So true.
And you know what? That's virtuous living.
Yeah.
That's virtuous living is what it comes down to. If you want to be a virtuous man, so you want to be a happy man, and you want to be a married man, and you want that to be the person that you lay your eyes on as you take your dying breath, you got two jobs, man. Adore her and be admirable.
Wow.
That's what it comes
So
down
good.
to.
When you talk about this leisure, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole on that. I'm very excited because I think that right there is the key to why everybody can't disconnect at night.
Yeah.
And all of the
So they're not
data
practicing
about that.
leisure.
There's no leisure.
They're bad at leisure.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really good at acedia,
Right.
at sloth.
Right. Right. Yes.
Which is not even fun. It's weird. It's like you go back to the, Grandpa Coleman,
Yeah.
who had a pretty boring life, but his life wasn't boring.
Yeah. No.
And today, nobody's life is boring moment to moment. Their lives
Exactly
are
right.
grindingly boring because we don't do leisure, we do acedia.
Right.
It gets back to this. It's not about the work. It's about the non-work work
Yeah.
in
I
our
love
lives.
it.
Yeah.
I have to, if I could make everyone in America do one thing, it would be to pick up books and older books. And I'll point out that one of the biggest growth years I had over, I don't know, I bet it was 5-6 years ago, I challenged myself. It wasn't a resolution, but it was a yearly goal. And I said, I want to read at least one biography a month.
Interesting.
And I had a busy life, 3 kids under the age of probably 15 at that time, but I did it. And it was a real challenge. I wanted to do it. But
Was it fulfilling? Was it useful?
It was unbelievably fulfilling because I was such a student. In other words, I picked people that I wanted to learn about, and I did 12. And what I learned in that year, it was unbelievable, just about humanness, not just these people and their lives, the ups and the downs. But I think that's a great growth. That type of intentional reading. It doesn't have to be biographies.
Right.
But if it's something where you go, I want to learn more about this.
Right.
So you could say, I want to learn more about prayer.
Yeah.
And do a deep dive. Or I want to learn more about marriage.
Right.
But I just think we Americans are so addicted to the quick fix.
Right.
And it's like even reading books that were written, by the way, I love to read books that are 50 years or older.
Yeah.
For one thing, that language is a little bit of a refresher.
Yeah.
So just a little nerdy suggestion.
Yeah, no, it's a little bit more challenging.
It is.
I agree because back then people could speak English. Now it's like brain rot, some BS that you see on Instagram every single day. Well, it is what it is, man. I mean, everything has to evolve at some point. But I'm gonna end it right here. So really, I mean, moral of the story. Well, how does this relate to finances? Well, instead of wasting it on, some cigarettes, instead of wasting it on the bars, or really, I mean, instead of wasting it every day eating out, why don't you just practice leisure? I mean, it does make sense what this guy is saying, 100%. And what Ken Coleman suggested, I mean, yeah, reading books can be an interesting leisure, but I'd argue traveling might be the greatest leisure out there, probably, if that is really a leisure, according to these people. But in my eyes, traveling is amazing, so I'd invest in that, really. Traveling the world, getting to know places, see different cultures, different people. I'd say it's a unique experience. I'd say it's a quite unique experience talking to someone who has actually been out of the country before. But yeah, that'd be an interesting way to invest. I'd say that's a great investment on oneself, really. Take a break from work, explore outdoors, get to know the world a bit better, and come back refreshed. I think that's a great investment. Way better than getting yourself in debt with a bunch of bullshit that won't even matter in 10 years, 20 years' time. But that's just me. Do what you want to do. Thank you for watching. This is Debt Disaster Daily. Subscribe if you haven't already. And we're out.